Welcome back to another review, this time for the anime With You, Our Love Will Make It Through, which had 12 episodes and was airing in autumn of 2025. Synopsis on any list. When high schooler Marie bumps into a fellow tardy student, she's surprised to find out he's a beast folk who's to attend her school. After all, it's not rare for beast folk to coexist alongside humans, but it is still uncommon, with a prejudice and all. Nervous to meet one at first, Marie soon learns there's more to him than his furry exterior. In fact, the more she gets to know him, the more she finds herself drawn to him, his steadfastness, his kind-heartedness, and his body. So we have a romance. We have Marie, who is the brown-haired girl, and we have Tsunagu Hidaka, who is the blue-haired dog person. Now this show is going to turn off a lot of people because of the, obvious furry aspect. Behind that, there is an interesting romance. Now, having seen a couple romances, this show goes a different direction. It is not like other romances I have seen. Now, this would be spoiler, so I'm going to talk about that later. I'm going to warn you at the time, naturally. Now, the dog person, Hidaka Tsunagu, or whatever name you want to use, let's say Hidaka, he is a dog person. There's a whole reason why dog people exist, or animal people exist, and they are in some kind of commune that is walled in. There's a door, people can go out, can go in. However, dog or animal people, they are in a minority, and they are very rare. That is why it's still uncommon, and naturally there's a lot of prejudice against the animal people. And he goes to a human school. That is why he is seen as somewhat of an anomaly, and a lot of the show is about him trying to fit in, or more or less trying to be accepted. It plays around with the idea that someone that is somewhat rare is in that school, and slowly but surely the class is going to warm up to him. Okay. Now Marie, she is very interested in him. He seems to like him very much. Now this is where it gets a little bit weird. There are some weird scenes. However, one of the big things is that because Hidaka is a dog person, he works a little bit different. He has heightened smell, heightened hearing, as a dog would. So he can smell specific things. As example, he can smell the feelings that Marie exudes, and he can react to that. He can also smell if someone has different feelings, quotation. Now, how much, I don't really know, but it seems like he can smell like fear, if people are angry or lying, the whole shebang. And, there's not really much hiding. In this show, as example, there's not really the whole, oh, I like him, but I don't want to tell him that, or he likes her and he doesn't want to. They are pretty open about, their feelings, which is one of the rare things that is not really done in anime that much. Now we also have the two characters in the back. It's a romance. The guy likes the girl, this cat person likes the dog. So we have some drama, even though both of these characters know these two like each other. The cat person knows it because she can smell it, and the guy knows it because he has seen it. He knows they like each other, but they still have to be like, oh, I'm gonna be in the vicinity. I'm going to orbit this pair in the hope that I can swoop in, like, which not really needed. Now, mostly the guy, it is understandable how this all happens. It's not like he liked her the whole time, he just grew to like her. And he was more or less challenging our dog guy to, you know, maybe he can get her to Mary to like him, maybe not. At least he was trying, you know. But it's a romance, you know how it goes. It's just a typical setup where we need some quote-unquote drama. Again, it's a romance that does take some that goes a little bit different. Now, one of the big parts that I did not really like was the end story bit. I found that it didn't really make much sense how it got resolved, or not resolved, but the middle part was a little weird. But other than that, you know, you have girl who likes dog person likes girl. They are unsure if they should be together because of the stigma and prejudice. And that is the idea of the romance. Animation, you know, some parts were fine, some parts looked good. It you know, it has some nice visuals at points, so that is good to see. Now, for me, it's not really the pairing I would go for, so it's not really hitting for me, just going to be honest. I'm going to talk about some spoiler in a second, but let's go ratings. AnyList has it at 70%, my anime list at 7.14. I would give it a strong 7 out of 10. Again, it's not my cup of tea. I'm not really into the dog person thingy. It's a little bit too far in the furry scale. But again, still strong 7 out of 10 because it does some aspects here I wish would be more prevalent in romance. Now, there's going to be spoiler. Again, spoiler. Now, the end, it didn't really make sense. The whole, we need to, you know, talk to the... There's a whole drama where someone takes a picture of these two being in a compromising position, posting that on a blog, more or less. They get caught and it's handled very poorly by the teachers. It's like, oh, I can't, I have to, you know, it's a festival, I have to supervise the festival. How about you know, this is a scandal, this should be top priority. I personally, I would have punched the guy that made the, you know, the whole post. But, you know, I would also have sued him because, you know, that was very defamatory what he posted. Again, and I feel like it was handled very poorly. I would have said, if I was a teacher or the school, I would have suspended him. If he was not really showing remorse, because you can't have someone taking secret pictures in a school and then putting some kind of post out there that is defamatory. That is going to be very bad, because this is just the beginning. Who knows, if you let this go, the next pictures are on the toilet. It is, you know, slippery slope, so better to stop it. Now, in the show, these two characters, they like each other. Now, he can smell if she, you know, whenever she gets a little bit, not embarrassed, but she gets a little bit flushed by being near him in a, you know, somewhat romantic situation. She exudes some kind of pheromones that he can smell, and his body reacts to that. Now, he's unable to really fight against that as easily, which leads to some very questionable situations that are borderline assault. Now, this is always a problem because if she does not see it as a soul, it's not really but they are very weird. However, what we have in the show, these two, they seem to go into a relationship. They kiss each other. This is something that it is weird to say, but it is a somewhat rarity for like high schooler, middle school, whatever they are, to be in a relationship and, you know, make out in any way. And these two in the show, kissing is not necessarily where it ends. Now, there's nothing explicit, there's nothing really much further, but they kiss each other. They also are, you know, sometimes they are on the verge of a little bit more than kissing. And I don't mean like that they start sleeping with one another, no, but, you know, a little bit more touching, a little bit more feeling each other's body. But there is stuff going on. Apart from other romances which are a little bit more flowery, a kiss is maybe the most that people go to. And here, a kiss is the normal. Now, I find the kissing a little bit weird because, you know, it's a dog, has pretty big mouth. Also, he's a dog. It's not like they had a human and they just put a dog costume on them. No, he behaves like a dog. He's licking her and stuff. And again, it's not really my cup of tea. However, I do like that we have a somewhat more advanced relationship going on that at the end turns into a real relationship. They're not even together. They're just, you know, kissing, making out, touching each other a little bit. Again, it's not getting into petting territory or so, but, you know, feeling each other up. They even go a little bit further where they start undressing each other, which, again, something that normally would happen, but is rarely shown in a romance. This is totally normal in something 18 plus, but in a normal romance, especially with like school age, it is, in my opinion, pretty rare to go into that area, which I have to say I appreciate, because it's like, hey, it's a normal relationship. You do kiss, you do touch each other, you may undress each other, you even could go further, but anime doesn't like to show it. However, it is missing a little bit of this flowery aspect of standard romance. We don't really have that here. It is, you know, it goes into that make out phase pretty early on, and as soon as you are in that phase, the flowery part is more or less disappearing. So that is why it goes into another direction. But because we are now in this direction, it is hard to go also in the flowery part, which people appreciate. So I feel like it missed that whole area where we get to know each other a little bit more, get closer. That is why it's a little bit, and it's not my cup of tea, the relationship. But I'm rambling. At this point, I'm rambling. I just appreciate that we have something more going on, which is sadly very rare for anime.